Welcome back to Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. At the end of the last episode, I had unlocked my first two missions that I could potentially take. There is one that is just, let's see here, this is just the contract that I just picked up, like, at the docks or someplace. The other one is actually one that's going to progress the story in a serious way. It's what's going to let me repair my ship and get it ready to basically travel to further places. I don't actually understand fully the scale of the space that this game takes place in. I don't know if this is like, because they talked about, like, you know, the Starward belt or something like that. Is this like the asteroid belt within the solar system? Is this like a belt of stars in the galaxy? I'm genuinely not sure, and it probably doesn't matter, but I don't know. I think about that kind of thing. Anyway, so the decision that I've got a couple of decisions to make. One is, do I go after the major story progressing mission first, or do I try something that is probably a little tamer? Certainly this one costs less fuel to take, which makes me think it's meant to be a little bit, I don't know, less ambitious. On top of that, though, I'm not sure if it's wise to go with only 2 supplies. You can see at the bottom of the screen, I've got 3 fuel, which is enough to take either mission, but only 2 supplies? And yesterday, I told my people to try to source some supplies for us, and they didn't find any. And so what I'm kind of inclined to do is spend one more day doing odd jobs, building up my resources, and see if we can get some more supplies before we take off on our next mission. However, that's going to have a cost, because that cycle clock at the bottom of the screen is going to increment one more step. And so I don't know if this is a wise decision, but I'm really nervous that we're going to get out there and not having supplies is going to be a problem. So I'm going to go, maybe, I don't know. So one thing I could do is just some odd jobs, right? Because I think this will just give me some money if I succeed at it, and it plays into my best skill, which is endurance. In fact, this might be a good place to spend my worst die. So I've got a 25% chance of a negative outcome here. But this is a low stakes thing. Yeah, neutral outcome, 8 cryo. It was a low stakes thing, and I had the benefit of my skill. So glad we did that. But now, what are my other options again? It's been a couple of days since the last episode, so I'm not dead certain what else was available here. So we could sell scrap. Can't do that. Engineer and interface skills can let me do some other shifts, but those skills aren't as good as my endurance. Contract board I've already visited. The bends, that's the bar where I can buy food. And I can gamble here too if I have good intuition, which I don't. So it looks like they've actually taken each skill and come up with a different way to use the skill. They've got engineering and interface down here, letting me make money. We've got endurance letting me make money up here, and we've got intuition letting me gamble for money here. What was the other skill that I didn't just list? Engage. Engage is like social skills. And so social skills are the only set of skills I can't use to make money. Which, you know, whatever. That's fair. So, alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to make a ton of money today. And, okay, it looks like a 4 and a 3 have the same potential outcomes. Which makes sense. They're moving in big chunks. I mean, there's only so many big chunks you can do. So yeah, I'm just going to go nuts. I'm just going to get a bunch of cryo, and then I'm going to see if tomorrow we have more supplies. And if for some reason we're just not ever getting supplies, fine, we'll go on a mission without them. But this is going to be a guaranteed positive outcome. There we go, 11 cryo. Okay, we've got 47 cryo, which is much more than we've ever had before. So that feels like a good situation to be in. So let's end the cycle and see if we get some supplies tonight. Okay, we did. We got 1 unit of supplies, which apparently is, I don't really know. That sounds like maybe that's a good amount to get in a day. So I think I shouldn't expect to be able to get that number extremely high without wasting a lot of time. So I think it is actually time for me to commit to one of these missions. So I'm nervous about going after the story mission immediately. There's kind of a lot of buildup around that. It seems like it's going to be risky. So why don't we try out something a little cheaper, a little closer? And so what we're trying to do is we're going to go to a station. Let's see. No, here. Station management have located a Conway signal. They're concerned to see one so close and are looking for someone to disable its source. I'm not sure what a Conway signal is, but it sounds like somebody will pay me 200 cryo to disable it. So that seems good. Yeah, let's confirm that vector. All right, so we've got multiple people who have volunteered to join my crew. But Junie isn't available because Junie specifically volunteered to help me with the story mission. She didn't volunteer to just join my crew generally. So we're going to choose Nia to come with us. I'm not sure how many people I'm allowed to bring. Can I bring all 3 of them if they're available, or do I have to just pick 2? Where Seraphin's coming with me on everything because he's my best buddy. Okay, lower right corner does say filled. So I guess, yeah, I can choose 2 people to come with me. All right. Confirm crew, yes. And here we go. It's a drone. Seraphin spots the signal source first, the light barely shimmering off its dark hull plating. A design trait that betrays its covert use. A flash catches your attention, and you see a rent in the hull, through which red lights pulse. Wounded. Seraphin shakes his head. Wish they'd finished the job. You've seen one before? Seraphin looks back over his shoulder towards you. We've seen one before, don't you? Turns out I'm an amnesiac. He sighs. Sorry, I know it isn't your fault. He looks at the drone. Lane had his work on one in Darkside Bay that was barely a shell, disarmed and deactivated. He had us searching through its guts for salvage. Even that one gave me the creeps and it had its core ripped out. He pushes the ship closer. This one is still live. Conway. Ania kisses her teeth. Corporate scum. You glance over at her and see the fire in her bright eyes. They don't even dare to come here and force us out themselves. It's all proxies and drones. She shakes her head. Typical core-bred cowards. Run into them before? She glances at you. You might say that. She looks out at the drone. You won't see me taking my eyes off that thing for a second. Seraphin carefully guides the ship closer. You watch the drone. The system is full of these things now, running missions for their operators. Rare to see one out in the belt, though. Maybe got hit during a run-in with Senate Stat Mercs. Looks like it's drifting. Most of the system's blown out, but look, there. He jabs a finger towards the red light on the far side of the drone. It's still broadcasting, and maybe even receiving? Can it attack us? Unlikely, Seraphin smiled. Would have blasted us already if it could. Comforting. Nia looks nervous. Seraphin brings you ever closer. What I remember from the dark side jobs, the central core and the broadcast array need to be shut off to kill these things. Core will turn off local systems, and the broadcast array will sever the link with the Conway operators. Seraphin swallows. But you can bet those systems are protected. Can we blow it up? You see any torpedoes on this rig, Sleeper? Seraphin laughs. We gotta shut it down by hand. Your attention is suddenly drawn by a shudder from the drone, like a tremor running along its length. This thing is rigged to blow, Sleeper. He frowns. We go slow and careful, and we don't touch anything we don't know about. He turns back to Nia. You hear that? I gotcha. She looks sincere. Seraphin brings the rig to a stop, close enough for you to cross through open space to reach the drone's hull. Let's suit up. You head down to the airlock to prepare. As you get suited up, you think of the corporate war taking place in the inner system, the war that this drone was driven from. Out here, on the shore of the conflict, the biggest danger is that this flotsam and jetsam drifting in with the tides and orbits of the system might one cycle bring the war with it. For now, the belt is outside its reach, but looking out at the red pulsing drone, that doesn't give you much comfort. Okay, so we're going to learn about contracts! Welcome to your first contract. While on a contract, you'll be able to assign 2 dice for each crew member, as you would assign your own dice. Pay attention to the crew's skills and use them effectively. On certain outcomes, crews will take crew stress. When their stress is full, you will no longer be able to use them to perform actions. While on a contract, your energy bar will automatically be supplied for each cycle that you have available supplies. Okay, so that's why we wanted to have supplies, is because we're basically spending multiple days out here, I think. When your supplies are depleted, both you and your crew will take 1 stress per cycle. Contracts also have their own contract stress. When this bar is filled, the contract will fail. All right. So I'm not sure where crew stress is tracked. Oh, maybe it's the bottom left and bottom right, the pips that are sort of chained together below each of their dice. I think that's the stress for each crew member, and then I got my own stress across the top. And then I don't see where contract stress is, but maybe it's not on screen yet. Okay, there's drone stress. Okay, so if we make progress on the drone stress thing, it's going to explode. Cool. Well, for our very first low-stakes mission, which is what I thought we were doing, this is pretty intense. So we've got 2 places we can look. Oh, and by the way, so yesterday I had a really good roll of dice. And I thought, I was worried because I didn't know how a contract was going to work. I didn't know if it was going to inherit the dice that I had that day. And so I spent them all on money. But now I'm looking at my dice at the top. I don't remember if these are the same dice that I had before I left. If they were the same dice, then I'll probably want to watch my dice and try to take contracts on days when I start with a good roll. But I don't know, maybe they re-roll the dice when you start a contract. I didn't pay that much attention to the state of my dice when we decided to leave. So I'll have to look back at the video and see what I can learn there. Okay, let's look at the options that we have. So over here, we've got the hull damage. It might be possible to slip through a gap in the drone's damaged hull, but once inside, where to go, how to find the broadcast array. And so, and it's listing our skills, and they're color-coded. So Seraphin and I are both garbage at intuition, but Nia has good intuition, and so she would be a great person to do this job. And then there's create opening. There's a gap where the drone sustains some damage. With a lot of effort, it might be possible to pry away the plates and create an entry point. So that's the skill that I'm good at. I've got good endurance. Nia's garbage at it, and Seraphin's fine. So depending on what else we've got available to us to do, that'll help me decide which of these things I want to try. It looks like both of them feed into broadcast access. So it says the drone's damage provides a lucky access point to the broadcast array, which will have to be disabled. Okay, so there's 2 things we have to do. We have to shut down the broadcast array and do the other thing, which I'm sure find out when I look at the other spot, the other location. But this is one of the things we have to do. That clock at the bottom, we have to fill it up using these 2 actions. And they align differently with each of our skills. Well, let's look at the other one. So this is access hatch, or the access hatch. I don't know if this is accessing a hatch or if it is an access hatch. Either way, what we're trying to do is control access. Getting inside the drone requires care as much as force. Conway is highly protective of their proprietary systems. Okay, so this is me trying to get control of the drone separately from shutting down its broadcast array. So release the hatch is a bad option because none of us have any particular skill in it. It says the drone is in a delicate state and any damage can cause it to trigger its self-destruct. It will take skill to release the access hatch. But reprogram hatch is an even worse option because all of us are garbage at interface. With the drone in such a reactive state, ready to fry itself in defense, perhaps reprogramming the hatch to open up to your crew is the best approach. Okay, so this is the worst thing that we should avoid doing. Release the hatch, I can do, and kind of only I can do. So if we want to make progress on this, that kind of requires me to be the one doing it. And so I've got a couple of good dice that I could probably use on this to make progress on the clock at the bottom. And because I'm doing that, I think that means that we're going to rely on Seraphin and Nia for the other thing. So it looks like probably it's identify route with Nia, using her 2 dice. And then Seraphin's got a pretty good die that maybe he could use on create opening. It's interesting that identifying route and create opening are they're 2 different things, and I could do all one of them or all the other or a combination of both, and they all kind of help. It's interesting that I could, theoretically, if these were feeding into separate clocks or something like that, I'd be like, it would be weird that I created a partial opening and partially mapped the route and that got me all the way there. But whatever, what we're going to do is assume that whatever combination of these things we do, there's a story that explains them, and that's fine. What other things can I do? So, okay, I've got this thing called push. there's a push that I can do. It's called Rally, and I can accrue stress to boost my crew dice. So if I take on stress intentionally, I can add +2 to the lowest crew dice. Now, when they say lowest crew dice is plural. Does that mean that each of them, like that Seraphine's 1 and Nia's 3 will both go up? Or are they using dice singular, which is an annoying thing that has become a trend recently? If they're saying singular dice, then it would be just Seraphine's 1 that gets better. I don't know. But one thing I definitely want to do is avoid negative outcomes that could lead to drone stress. Now, I don't know if drone stress, if there's any way to decrease drone stress. Let's look over at the rig and see if, I think it's just got options for us. We got the kitchen, which we can't really use it right now. Okay, yeah, it looks like the options that are usually available on the rig aren't available here. We just have to kind of stick to the job. So, okay, let's start with Nia identifying a route. So let's use her best die, which is going to be 100% positive. And that took 2 steps. Let's see what the risks are if we use her 3. Okay, we got a 25% negative here, so we could incur some drone stress, but 75% that we don't. I'll take those odds. Foolishly. Oh no, that was a neutral outcome that stressed her, but not the drone. The neutral outcome... Oh, interesting. So the neutral outcome still has a cost to her. It's not only when it's negative. Okay, that's good to know. Let's use Seraphine's 6 to keep going. Okay, so we're getting there. We're almost halfway there, but if I use Seraphine's 1, that's 50-50. That seems bad. That seems like not a good thing to try. So let's switch over to the other one. Now I've got 3 days to do this before we're out of supplies. So if we don't want to take, like, if we don't want to use all of our dice, we don't want to take any extra risks, I think that's probably fine. Like, yeah, so, okay, so let's use my best die here. 50% positive, 50% neutral. Start action. Ooh, that was 3 steps. That's cool. Oh, you know what? I think that when something is listed as dangerous, I think that means that its outcomes can be more positive. In addition to its outcomes also being more negative when they're negative. Okay, again, 75% odds, you know. You do that in XCOM and you get mad if you fail. So we'll try this again. Okay, neutral outcome. Cool. You just gained some stress. As your stress increases, you'll have a higher chance of taking damage to your action dice each time you roll them. Ooh, is that a new mechanic? I don't remember that from Citizen Sleeper 1, but I also don't remember very much of Citizen Sleeper 1. All right, so those were all of our good dice. Like, if I tried to use this 2 here, 50% chance of negative, and that just feels wrong. We've got 3 days here, and we've made it almost halfway on both of these clocks. So I think that's probably a good day. I don't really have anything to compare it to, but I think that might be a good day. So, all right, so if we end the cycle now, we all sleep, we re-roll our dice, and, okay, mine are okay. Nia's and Seraphine's are okay. You know what? Actually, I'm going to... Let's figure out how to use my push, because I really want to know what it does. Is it going to raise both Nia and Seraphine's lowest die, or will it just pick one? So I'm going to... Okay, config can't be changed. I get it. But what I'm trying to figure out is how do I use my push? Oh, I see it, top of the screen. Click the left stick. Now, nothing's changed, by the way, right? Like, this is still the same job as it was before. I think it is. Yeah, I don't see anything different. Okay, so I'm going to use my push and see what happens. Oh, a push again. Oh, sorry. I thought I would push A to confirm, but no, I'm pushing S again to confirm. Okay, yes. Thank you, Jump Over the Age, for using correct grammar with the word dice. So both of them had their dice increase, which is perfect. We are probably going to nail the broadcast system. So we'll start with Nia and navigate to her dice. So 100% positive. Pretty good. She says that was a fun one. All right, cool. Let's do it again. Okay, yeah, 50% positive, 50% neutral. So not guaranteed to have the best outcome, but we're not going to have the worst. Okay, we're getting real close. Seraphin, you're up. Yes. Okay, and now I'm pretty sure my push really made a difference here, because if I've been using their 2s here, we might have gotten negative outcomes, taken on some drone stress, and failed to make this progress. We've got it. We've got broadcast access. You hear the bleeping immediately. Among the chambers and the cabling of the drone's interior, something has started counting down? Guys? Nia's voice comes hissing through the suit's comm channel. Does anyone else hear that? Because I'm getting nervous. Shit. Seraphin's voice joins her. This is what I was worried about. Are we screwed? I can't be sure. Seraphin has dropped his voice to a whisper, as if that might make a difference. Either this thing is about to send out a distress call, or it's about to blow. We gotta shut the system down fast. He pauses. Then we move to the other side, because I bet you there's a surprise waiting for us there, too. We good? Nia sounds tense. Am I headed back to the ship, or what? Seraphin cuts in. We're good. We keep going. He shuts off the channel. You take a moment in the silence. All right, time to deal with this fast, and then get over to the other side before something happens. Okay, deal with it. How? Hack broadcast. Interface. The thing we're all garbage at. Okay. We're all equally garbage at this. So there's no bad decision to make. It's just, oh man, why does this come down to hacking? I mean, and okay, so if I slot in my best die, we still have a chance of a negative outcome. I don't know what else to do. Okay. That worked. But now we got to flip a coin twice. Okay, that one worked. And now holy crap. It actually, wow, that actually worked. That was intense. Sorry, I don't know if you're feeling it the way I'm feeling it, but like flipping these coins, I was like, I know this is gonna explode on me. Okay, well, I've only got a couple of 2s left. I don't know if that's something I actually want to spend here. Yeah, I'm not gonna flip a coin on this. We're not like, staring death in the face. So I don't know what would have happened if I'd failed that. I did see a post on Blue Sky. I think it was on Blue Sky, talking with Jump Over the Age about the fact that they had deliberately tried to play a game where they made every mistake they could, and they were like trying to like make just this whole story be horrible. And they said that there actually are like, that was really intense and really scary. They said they actually are like second chances, like something bad happens, but you still get a last minute option to get out of it or something like that. That they actually found there were way more second chances than you assume there will be when you first get in here, which is kind of cool actually. I like the idea that they make you sort of face potentially a really dire consequence, but then if that goes wrong, they don't just always murder you immediately. They give you chances to sort of have your story be more interesting because you got even closer to the edge before you failed. Anyway, let's take a nap. Our supplies are at 2, so hopefully we can nail this. Okay, I've got some good rolls. Oh, holy crap. Everybody's got good rolls. You get a good roll. You get a good roll. Everybody gets a good roll. I'm the only one who has good skills over here, but let's use them. Because if they're, I mean, their rolls are so good that even though they, like, suck at this, they might still be able to contribute positively. I'm not sure if they're like, ooh, neutral outcome, got some stress. All right, so I think that my 3 here, is this going to be the same as his 6? Yes. And I don't know whose skills we're going to need. So since his 6 is the same as my 3, I'm going to use his 6. I'm going to try to spread this out a little bit. Okay, that's how we do it. So we've successfully gotten control access. And now we've got a new location. Okay, so we've got disconnect. This is all in. Okay, good. We've got Nia, because we were off the other end of the drone where we were using her skills all the time. She's actually good at disconnecting the backup. So it says, in the core, you see the drone is running on backup power. Disconnect that carefully, and you'll be one step closer to a full shutdown. Okay, that sounds good. So yeah, because of her skill, she's guaranteed positive. Let's do that again. That's how it's done. The thrumming, pulsing interior of the drone goes still for the first time since you boarded it. You look across at Seraphin and Nia and share a smile. You all exhale so loudly it can be heard over the suit's shared comm channel. The drone is dead. One less piece of Conway shit to worry about, Nia grins. We killed it. Don't get too excited, Seraphin cuts in. It was looking pretty rough when we got here. You make your way back out to the hull, the drone now faintly rolling in one direction, its stabilizers offline. Nia catches up with you as you glide toward the rig. We make a pretty good crew, Sleeper. We do. Nia grins widely. She punches you in the arm playfully. You reach the rig's airlock and take one last look at the drone's dark hull. It catches the light as it rolls in the vacuum. At some point in the near future, this drone will likely be smashed to pieces by one of the many asteroids of the belt, spread across this place as twinkling dust. The thought pleases you. As is the thought of all that cryo Hexport now owes you. Time to go collect. Contract complete. I can now leave via the map. Yeah. Let's go. -5 stress during travel. Nice. Yes. That's how it should be. After docking at Hexport, Seraphin lets go of the controls and leans back in his chair. Nia leans over to you. Thank you, Sleeper. She stretches. I know you took a chance on me. Huh, glad to have you. Nia smiles an infectious smile. Feels good to make a contract work, Seraphin smiles, no matter how we pull it off. It's hard not to agree, and it feels better when the Hexport courier comes down with a lockbox. A lockbox would be an interesting thing. You just like stuff a fox full of money and then you unlock it. You know what? I don't want to think about that too much. Anyway, they got some cryo chits. Lane may still be hunting you, but this should help the effort to slip his net. Suddenly we hear a familiar voice. Nia! Femi glides into view, approaching from the docks. He fixes you with a stare. What are you playing at, Sleeper? Back off, Femi. You go to speak, but Nia drifts forward, cutting you off. Don't come throwing your weight around, Femi. I can make my own decisions. She glances back at you. Sleeper took me at my word, and I'm grateful. Femi is fuming. Did they now? He turns to you. Well, if you're working for Sleeper, I hope they paid you well. Nia looks away. Well, I asked, so... Femi smiles. Oh, so they aren't paying you? Seraphin crosses his arms. Let's keep this civil. You realize this is the first time he's meeting Femi. If we're being civil, seems like Nia's owed her share. Femi fixes you with a severe look. Okay, so I was assuming I was paying Nia a share, so part of me, like, at some point, I would love to do just like a Weasley bastard playthrough and like do stuff like this, but I can't do it. No, gotta pay Nia. You grab around a quarter of the chits from the lockbox and hold them out to Nia. She takes them sheepishly. All right then, Femi smiles. We're good here. He turns to leave. Nia mouths a sorry and follows Femi across the docks. Seraphin watches them go. You sure know how to pick 'em, Sleeper. He shakes his head. He turns away and heads back along the docking bridge. I just hope we aren't going to end up with a stack of cryo short when we need to get out of here. Well, I did make a bunch of cryo yesterday. Okay, so I just completed a drive and earned an upgrade point. You have push upgrades available. Go to the character screen to the right of the UI to see them. Okay, so I've got an upgrade point, and I can... An upgrade point? How? Oh, 2 points. I've got 2 points, and I can choose either. Oh, right. So I could potentially choose upgrades to my skills, but those cost 4 points. So with 2 points, I can either say minus crew stress. Why can't I talk? -1 crew stress unless full. Or +1 to affected crew dice. This feels... I mean, yeah, we could reduce crew stress. That sounds potentially valuable, but we've got another option. Oh, the next option, the next layer of this is nothing but reducing crew stress. So let's go with making the crew dice more powerful. Okay, and so now I've re-rolled my dice up above. We still have 1 supplies, actually, but check out the clock, though. Those were legit days that I spent in the field. Like, I actually am running out of time because I did that instead of rushing the main story. Okay, so I need 3 fuel in order to go on the next mission. So let's focus on getting the fuel first. We might have to do it without supplies if things get dire. I wonder if there's any new... What's at the Hexport Exchange? Okay, so... Trading scrap is all about identifying materials and cleaning up components. It's an engineer's job. I don't have that. I kind of have that skill. Data brokers. Okay, so if I had interface, I'd be good at this. But I've got engineer, so I'm more good at this. And what I'm trying to do is figure out, is there a way for me to get supplies on my own? Like, I'm looking around. There's the contract board. Nothing available there. No new locations over here. Okay. Oh yeah. So these are the jobs that I'm not great at. I'm okay at engineer. I'm terrible at interface. And I can sell raw scrap if I have raw scrap, which I don't. So the thing, yeah. So I don't see a way for me to just go out and buy supplies. Yeah. It seems like that's not an option, and maybe it'll become an option at some point. But I think that. Because I haven't spent time at the exchange, this is probably where I should spend my fancy dice. Let's see what this is, because maybe this will open up some options for me. So 100% positive here. Hopefully that'll mean at least 2. Yeah, at least 2 progress. Ooh, tutorial. While on a contract, you can use your push ability to give you an edge. I've learned about that already. It accrues stress. Right. I don't know why they're telling me this here. Why are they telling me this here? How odd. This is not a time when my push is even particularly useful. Maybe there's another push that is useful here, and so this was a good time for that tutorial if I was not an extractor, but... Huh. Anyway. Okay, so we've progressed rules of the exchange. Let's find out what that does. Ooh. So we've got a new canteen where I can eat for more cryo. Well, I mean, my eating bar is full, so I'm not going to explore that. What about the trade hall? What is this? Aha! Okay. I can buy supplies. I can fill my supplies. I can buy fuel. I can fill fuel. I don't need to wait for the other characters to do this stuff. I made so much money right before the contract. And we're not going to need to save up the 400 if we actually do the contract for Karsten. So I'm thinking if I buy enough fuel to go there, and then let's just fill our supplies. And then I've got 3 more dice. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so if I wanted to leave right now for Solheim, I could. It looks like I could. Does that mean... Okay, we're going to do an experiment. I'm going to use up all my dice, and then we're going to go. on the contract, and we're going to see if I arrive with no dice, or if I arrive with new dice like it's a new day. So let's do this, and we'll help, this will also help pay for the supplies that I just bought. Chance of negative, but I don't think the negatives are that bad. And here we go. Even worse chance of negative. Okay, I lost some energy. Okay, so now that I've wasted, to some degree or another, all of my dice, let's go on the other contract. And this time... Okay, so this time Nia can't come. I need to take Junie, because she volunteered to specifically do this mission. And actually she was talking like, it looks like we could leave her behind if we wanted to, but would be understaffed. And that feels bad. Like that seems like, I mean, technically there's nothing saying you have to have 3 people to succeed at one of these, but I wouldn't want to try without those 2 extra dice. So yeah, let's do this. The Solheim derelict fills the cockpit windows, all twisted plates and skeletal strutwork. You watched it in horror and fascination as Seraphin completed the approach, both of you silent in the presence of this decaying beast. Now as you settle beside it, Seraphin is the first to break the silence. This thing is already dead. He shakes his head. It's a corpse, Sleeper. He nudges the ship closer, looking for a place to dock. I touch this thing too hard, it'll crumble to dust. Let's not do that. Seraphin does a little mock salute. Aye, aye. He rolls his eyes. Any other tips? Take us up there. That's the bridge. Junie points towards one end of the ship. Both you and Seraphin turn around, having forgotten she was even in the cockpit. She hasn't said a word since you departed. Now, I'm assuming... Now, it could be that they don't let me depart without a third crew member. I'm not sure. But if that is allowed, I'm wondering how this scene would play out without Junie here. Is this a paragraph that would just be skipped? A whole branch in the conversation that would be skipped? We would find some other thing to do? I'm not sure. She glances at both your bemused faces. What? She looks away. Sorry, that's where we need to go. She stops pointing. Seraphin nods towards Junie. She's not wrong, Sleeper. The bridge would be a good start. To the bridge then. Seraphin nods and brings the ship under control. Let's do it. Seraphin takes control of the ship, avoiding the debris field closer to the center of the wreck. He settles in position near a protrusion at the far end. This is as far as I'll go. Seraphin taps at the anchoring controls. We should be able to anchor the ship to those plates. You hear Junie begin to protest from behind you, but it's too late. Seraphin fires 2 baton-tipped anchor lines at the nearest solid hull plates. The batons slam into the plates, and despite their solid appearance, they instantly shatter. The fragments spin out across the wreck, slicing into other plates and building a spiraling storm of debris. Shit! Seraphin nudges the ship back and steadies it as the debris cascades across the surface of the wreck. The damage seems mostly superficial, but it underlines just how fragile the derelict is. Let's not do that again. Junie glances between the two of you. The data core will be very fragile. We've got it. Seraphin snaps. He angrily unclips from his seat. Last thing I need is a backseat driver. He kicks off and glides past her into the corridor. Let's go. Junie nods sheepishly. Of course. You follow Seraphin down the passage, with Junie close behind. As you reach the airlock, he's already angrily suiting up. Suiting up does not need a hyphen. His frustration evident. Keep your cool, man. Seraphin looks up. Yeah. He glances at Junie. No hard feelings, right? He checks the seals on his shoulders. But this is a job, not a social event. The rest of the preparation process takes place in tense silence, each of you considering the delicate job ahead. You suit up too, but you don't need a helmet to breathe. You slide one on and lock the seals for protection. The wreck isn't going to give up its salvage easily. The core should be near the bridge, maybe even inside it, but there's a lot of wreck there, and there might be good salvage tucked away in the cargo hold. Once the suits are on and the seals are checked, you cycle the lock and stare out at the vast expanse of the twisted hulk before you. Time to go to work. Okay, so we've got, it looks like another 2 spots. We got the corroded airlock and the depressurized bay. And the derelict is already stressed. Now, I'm wondering, if we had not chosen the bridge, if we'd assessed the wreck first, Could we have avoided that event where he shattered some of the hull and stressed the derelict out before we even began? I'm betting so. Also, look at those exclamation points on the contract stress. I'm betting something weird happens if we let any more stress kick in. Oh, but look at the top of the screen. I've got new dice. So I was able to leave after spending all of my dice, and it's a new day and I've got new dice. That's awesome. I should remember that. I feel like I can get more out of a day if the day I leave for a contract, I use all my dice before we go. Okay, so yeah, but Seraphin and Junie both got decent rolls. So let's look at the corroded airlock first. So bridge entry is what we get from the corroded airlock. I'm just curious what the other one is, if it's not bridge entry. Cargo entry. Okay, oh, actually, let's read this. Getting into the cargo entry means breaking through the shattered remnants of the aft hull. Okay, so do we only need one entry, or do we need both? For the other one, we needed to do something at both places, but maybe entry is just entry no matter how you get it. So this one is engineer and engage, which we've got a lot of neutral skill in. And then are any of us better at cargo? Okay, clear cargo doors. I'm really good at clearing the cargo doors. And we only need to get 4 steps at this. How many steps are there on the clock for this one? Lots of steps. So, okay, so I might be able to get us into the cargo hold with very little fuss. That might have more... 3 steps. Wow. So this might have more... like steps to get to, because if she's saying that our destination is on the bridge, going this way might be easier for us, but it might have more steps before we can actually get to our goal. But let's see. Okay, we made it in through the cargo, and now cargo storage. Okay, we can map the bays if we have an interface skill, which Junie has. Okay, so okay. I think I misunderstood. So these are not 2 different ways to get at the same target. This is a way to make extra money, and this is a way to get the actual target. So should I spend time on this before I've made this happen? I think maybe I shouldn't. Well, at least let's spend my best die on this. And then let's use Seraphin's best dice on this. Now, Junie has very little to offer this situation. This one has a negative, neutral, but it caused derelict stress. Crap, there's a crisis that's going to happen now. A crisis will add 1 contract stress per cycle unless resolved. Okay. Then how do we resolve it exactly? Oh, it's just this same... Okay, so we have to... Now that we've triggered a crisis in this location, we have to finish this location fast, or something, or it's going to get worse and worse. Okay. The problem is... Okay, so this is this is risky. I can do this, but it's dangerous. I can do this, but it's risky. That's pretty risky. However, Junie has got no skill in this at all, but she's got a 6. Okay, her 6 still has a chance of negatives. And her dice could be more useful on the other end. So... I'm actually inclined to take the risk here. To flip the coin. Okay. Do I flip a second coin? Or... You know, I'm not gonna make it all the way. I'm not gonna make it all the way no matter what. Well, no. Okay, you know what? Let's try Junie. Junie, take a crack at it. Use your 6. It's better than my 2. And if she gets the positive, we can get out of this and still have some dice left. Negative outcome? Oh, you idiot. Okay. Okay. Well, now I think there's a very low chance of us making it all the way without incurring more derelict stress. So I think we're just going to we're going to have one cycle with the additional derelict stress. There's nothing we can do about it. So we're just going to accept our lot and instead let Junie work on the cargo base. Okay, got a neutral outcome there. I'm going to be garbage at it, but what's the worst that can happen over here? We haven't found out what the worst is that could happen. Okay, we're out of dice. It's time for wait a minute. What's that? Oh, wait. Wait, that's the crisis? Oh, crap. I thought this was the crisis, because it says crisis. But no, that's just... Yeah, so it doesn't say anything about it here, so I thought it was... This is where the crisis is? Oh, we've got a whole thing to do here, and I'm good at it. Okay, well, we're going to have to... I misunderstood. We're going to have to take some stress now, because I misunderstood. But it's okay. It's just one stress. We'll be fine. End cycle. Plenty of supplies. Okay, we took some additional stress. Got some good rolls, though. So let's fix this crisis. I've got a plus on this, so I might as well use... Actually, I mean, okay, 100% positive versus... Oh, that could have a negative. I don't think we want negatives on this if we can help it, so let's go positive. I feel like a negative is going to add more derelict stress. So I'm going to use my best dice on this. Just make sure that it all goes well. Okay, breach sealed. Taken care of. Now, back to the main mission, which all of us, well, no, which I and Seraphin can contribute positively to. Let's let Seraphin. No, I don't want any more negatives. Let's have him go 6 with this. Let's just wrap this up. And we've got bridge entry. The bridge of the derelict lies silent. The pale beams of your suit lamps catch rows of terminals and clouds of glittering dust. Wires wave like seaweed, and the whole scene appears as if underwater. Chaotic, but still. Junie glides past you, disturbing the dust and taking you by surprise as she does. She's been a stoic presence so far, but in this moment she seems drawn forward by some force of curiosity. You watch as she bats away debris and begins checking terminals. What are you doing? Junie doesn't seem to hear you, or at least is ignoring you. She's already prying an access panel off one of the more intact-looking terminals. As she does, puffs of rust color the vacuum around her red. Hey, stop it? As you shout for her to stop, Junie turns her head. Even behind the visor of her helmet, you can see a look of confusion, perhaps irritation, cross her face. Sorry, She looks between you and the console. This is what we're here for, isn't it? She runs her fingers along the edge of the half-removed plate. Scavenging? I need you to follow orders. Junie frowns behind her visor. Of course. She looks away. But trust me, this is going to help. So, by the way, normally I actually would be choosing the more cautious route and letting her do her thing. I'm deliberately choosing the things I wouldn't normally choose just because I want to see what the outcomes are. I'm planning on playing this again, for myself later, and I'll, see the other side. She churns back to the terminal and finishes prying off the plate. Then quickly she reaches inside, fishing around for something. Her hands come back out with a waving cable topped with a thick connector. As soon as she sees it, she slips a keyboard-sized deck out from somewhere on her person. She runs her hand across the back until she finds the right port and slots in the connector. Not your first Solheim ship? She glances at you, a nervous look on her face. Does she think you're accusing her of something? She shakes her head and goes back to her work. Junie's fingers dance across the deck's keyboard, and a burst of static lights up the Solheim terminal screen. The sudden burst of light and color takes you by surprise. Junie's fingers tap away, the terminal screen flashing with blocks of color and lines of code. It buzzes and vibrates, its long-dead systems forced back into chaotic life. Then all at once, it goes dark. The terminal is dead. Shit. Junie hisses beneath her breath. Useless. Can't tell if the insult is directed at the terminal or herself. What are you doing? She looks up at you as if she was just waking from a dream. Looking for something useful. She pauses. Useful for the contract, that is. She glances down. A map of the ship. Plans, you know. The cradle with the data core can't be far. She pushes off from the terminal, gliding away from you. I'll start looking. She calls back and heads to the other side of the bridge. Seraphim glides up beside you. Everything all right? What do you think of Junie? The kid? Seraphim shrugs. You'd know better than me. Keeps to herself. He squints at her retreating form. Seraphim stretches in his suit. I have to admit, it's nice to be back working, especially now that we're the ones who will reap the benefits. He claps you on the shoulder. Feels good to be taking our fate into our own hands. I know it's pretty rough there back on Hexport, but out here we're just as likely to get shredded by debris as to find the damn data core. But aren't you glad we made a break for it? He pauses and looks down, having asked the question almost by accident. I mean, I am. I don't want to speak for you. I'm glad too. Seraphim smiles. You better be. I didn't give up that little dark side cupboard I was living in for nothing. He laughs at his own joke. Look, Seraphim checks his suit's wrist seals. Once we've got a bit of space behind us, once we've got the distance, if we even manage to get that far, he furrows his brow. Don't feel you owe me. I'm no charity case. You want us to go our separate ways? Fine by me. He meets your eyes. Just do me the favor of telling me to my face. I will. Seraphim nods, but doesn't respond. After a moment, he shines his torch out into the dark, checking the rows of terminals all across the bridge. You watch the glittering dust as it eddies in the beam. Let's get to it. You watch as he crosses the bridge, his torch probing the dark corners. You feel a chill run through your body as you imagine the people that once ran this ship, the Solheim crew, surely long dead. What was it like here before the collapse, when this system was the jewel in Solheim's crown? It's impossible to know. That history is lost to you now. All you can do is pick up what you can from the ruins. Okay, so now we've got the derelict bridge where we can find the data core, and that's going to take a lot. Junie is good at rebooting the system. I am good at tracking the pathways. And Seraphim's okay at tracking the pathways. I still like the idea of putting Junie to work over in the back of the ship. So let's see, how bad could it... This is dangerous. I mean, we're going to be at this for a while anyway, right? I'm going to try this, see how it goes. Okay, that went all right. I kind of don't want to use my 2 on it, though. This is a little safer. How is it to use Junie's... it's 50-50. You know what? We've got a lot of supplies. I say we tackle this when we've got more and better dice. And let's let Junie spend a little bit more time doing some general scavenging. Okay, positive outcome. We did it. And what was the result of that? Oh, deep bays. Okay, this is where we can actually extract scrap. And it's dangerous, and we have crap dice. So I'm thinking, and unfortunately this is the same skills we would be using over on the other end of the ship. So yeah, I mean, like if Seraphim were to use his, I mean that's 75%. 75's a nice big number. And is this, oh, this doesn't have a clock. We get scrap every time we do this, don't we? Let's try this. We might roll the 25% and have it go bad. We did. Oh no. We just caused a crisis. Holy crap. All right. Here's the crisis. Purge protocol. We need to hack it, and we can't because all of our dice are gone. That was stupid, and we just have to deal with it tomorrow. All right. Okay. Decent dice as before. However, I think this might be a good time to use my push. Now Junie and Seraphim have amazing dice. And Junie is the one who needs to hack this. Junie has got awesome stuff she can do. So we're going to let her do that. Come on, Junie. And now, unfortunately, Seraphin and I are garbage. My dice... We've got a couple of engineering tasks up ahead. My dice aren't as good as Seraphin's, and my skill is more useful in other places. So I'm going to have Seraphin use his 6. It turns into a 4 because his skill sucks. But we did it. Okay, cool. I don't know what the purge protocol was. It's probably just going to eject all the cargo we're trying to get. That's probably what it was, but I don't know. Anyway, we're trying to do this now. So Junie had to use all of her dice, so she's not going to be useful here. But I can be useful here. I've got a couple of 6s on this task. So let's use those. And let's use this 4 that becomes a 5. And Seraphin is not too bad himself at this job. Oh, but he took some stress. Well, as long as we stay under 5, we'll make it. We'll be okay. Because we recover 5 stress on the way home. So, now I've got a couple of crap dice, and I don't think there's anywhere good to use them. So let's end the cycle. Okay, this is the crappiest roll I've ever seen. Can I push again? I feel like that's going to make a difference. Okay, let's go back to the bridge. Now, I don't know what skills they're going to want once we get past this. So I think I'm going to use my 4. Now let's use my 4. Okay, we did it. I got stressed. But now what? We're in the data core cradle. So we can isolate the core, which Junie's good at, or slice the core, which I'm okay at. However, I have garbage dice, so we're going to have Junie do what she does best. Okay, interesting. So I just realized that isolate the core and slice the core are both aimed at the same 2 clocks. So isolating the core, this is why we're glad we have Junie, because both of us are terrible at interface. But this is the job we brought her for. She can get it using the task, like using the sort of the job over on the left side that doesn't ever damage the core. Well, the one on the right side will damage the core whenever we screw up a little bit. And we're going to screw up a lot over on the right side. So, yeah, we're glad we've got Junie here. I think this is a good risk. No! Oh, she can totally screw up, too. Okay, so both options can screw up. I think hers is less likely to do damage. It will do less damage, maybe, because it's risky instead of dangerous. But we can all damage it. Okay, good to know. I mean, I don't think we have good enough dice to keep messing around down there. So I'm going to try to get some scrap. Holy crap! Okay, now what? Fuel cleanup. Oh, there's a giant fuel spill, and all we've got left is Seraphin with his terrible skills. But I think we have to try to make progress on it now, because we're going to start... Ooh, okay, that went well. We're going to start running out of supplies. We're going to start running out of time. There's a 25% chance of a positive outcome here. Maybe we close the leak. Of course not. Why would something go well? Okay, so we have to take another derelict stress hit. Because I mean, using my ones is just gonna make it worse. So, okay, man, I thought we were close to succeeding at this, but we are not. All right, we're gonna end the cycle, take another hit to derelict stress. And this is because I'm greedy. We don't have to be taking all this derelict stress. We're taking this derelict stress because I keep trying to get scrap out of this stupid thing. Okay, anyway. So we've taken damage to a dice. Come on. Oh, you guys are doing so well because of stress. When your dice are rolled at the start of the cycle, your stress dictates if you take damage or not. Higher stress means higher chance of damage. The white markers above the stress bar tell you which numbers will be damaged when your will damage your dice when rolled. Each die has, I'm going to say die. Each die has 3 dice health. When this is depleted, the die will break and must be repaired to be used normally. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Let's not do that anymore. Okay, so I guess crisis first, right? I'm the best one to deal with this. So we're going to use my skills. Almost there. Okay, we've done it. Good. Now let's go back here. Let's get this done before we ruin something. However, Junie has got crap going on with her dice. So I'm going to have to use my push, which is like, I'm really getting stressed out. But we have to have Junie operating at top capacity. Okay, good progress. Junie. No negatives. Come on, Junie. You can do it. Come on. What did we bring you for? Okay, so this is the same roll we just made. His better die, but worse skill. We're kind of flipping a coin here too. Not really, but nope, not doing that ever again. Okay. Well, I mean, might as well try to get something out of this. We got some scrap. Yay! Okay. We got one more supplies. We're not decaying. We've got one more step on the derelict stress, but we don't have a crisis, making it worse. Let's see what kind of roll we can get for Junie. Okay. Good roll for Junie. Great rolls for me. Well, a couple of them. Mixed bag for me. And notice my dice are getting damaged too. Seraphin can't handle any more stress. We are pushing this to the absolute limit. But Junie has got 100% positive right here. Let's do that. Okay. We need a 100% positive again. But this has a chance of negative, and knowing how Junie's been performing so far, I'm not risking that. So we're pushing. My stress is ridiculous now, but Junie now has a 6. So, by the way, this is something I love in games like this, when basically you've got randomness, but you've also got resources that you can spend to overcome the randomness. And the resources, they've got kind of a danger of their own. Like, there's games where everything is just wholly random all the time, and that can be, and you're sort of managing the odds up front, like what kinds of decisions you're making based on the odds, but then the outcome is always the odds. I like the fact that this game lets you counter the odds by spending valuable resources you can run out of and that cause their own problems later on down the line. Because that gives you just enough of a sense of control that you feel like the outcome is your fault. And that's what you want a player to feel like. You want them to feel like a positive outcome is because they were awesome, and a negative outcome is because they made a mistake, an identifiable mistake that they can regret. Not that the game is unfair and they were having a bad time and it's your fault, not theirs. So in this case, like, the reason why we got into such a bad situation was because I was greedy and I was going after scrap at the other end of the ship. And if I hadn't been doing that, we would be in much better shape, because I wouldn't have used all of Junie's dice trying to get in there. I would have been able to use her in other places. We probably would have been ahead of the game. So it was my fault that we were getting into such danger. But it was also my judicious use of my own stress to enhance her dice that led to our success. So I end up feeling responsible for these outcomes, even though so much of this was random. You watch nervously as Junie guides the core out of the cradle. A large ball, almost half your height in diameter, glides out of the framework that held it, connections waving loose and cut. By the way, I'm realizing that if we had messed up this core, I don't think that's game over, right? Like, that's not like, oh, we've missed our one chance to fix the rig. Like, we can still buy the thing we need from Karsten. Like, this is just one option we've been pursuing. I kind of like that. That you know, like, realizing that, like, I've achieved something cool, but it was something I fully chose on my own. This was not something that, like, this is a bottleneck in the game where you have to succeed at this, or the game just, you know, is like, nope, try again. Like, this game feels like there's always some parallel track in the storyline that I could have taken, or that I could still take if the track that I'm on hits a dead end. Anyway, her breathing comes through the suit's comms, loud enough to be picked up, and it fills you with tense energy as you watch. Over the course of this job, you've seen Junie both focused and distracted, nervous and precise, and you've not seen her any more confident than in this moment now. She floats beside the data core, handling with care and skill, as if it was the vast egg of some endangered bird. She glances up and sees you watching her, and you notice something unfamiliar in her eyes, something that you've perhaps seen in a passing moment before, only now it's no momentary lapse or change. It's set in place. You see determination. She guides the core a little away from you with one hand, and at the same time comes forward, almost placing herself between you and her prize. It does seem to be hers in a way that she handles it, and the possessive way she screens it with her body. We need to talk. The statement comes flat and deadpan, any nervous tremble gone. Junie, stop. Sleeper. She takes a deep breath. I want to be honest with you, but I need to know you won't take this from me. Junie glances around the cradle defensively, but Seraphin has already headed back to the ship to prepare the cargo bay for the core's storage. You two are alone. Tell me and we'll see. Fine. She folds her arms, but it's staying with me. Karsten doesn't deserve this treasure, Sleeper. Junie glances over her shoulder at the core. Do you know how many of these are left intact? She shakes her head. And all he wants to do is wipe it clean so we can use it to interface with Hexport. All that data. Gone. So what do you want? I want to extract the data, to make use of it. You see some genuine emotion flicker in her eyes. She sighs. After extracting the data, the core will be unusable. There's a security system that will fry it if the data duplication is attempted. I can delay the security response long enough to copy the data, but after that, she trails off. You've done this before. She looks down. Yes, she meets your eye. This is why I came. Look at this place, Sleeper. She gestures to the cradle room, a dark and twisted cavern of long-dead tech. How many of these places are left? How many chances do we have to recover anything this old, this fragile? Like it or not, we live in Solheim's shadow, in their ruins, and yet we know almost nothing. What chance do we have of understanding how we got here, when others like them, like Senatstad and Conway, are descending on this system? I need this core. But at what cost, Sleeper? She gestures around herself. With this core, we could learn something about ourselves. We could learn our history and how this system was settled. We could better learn the technology we build our lives on. We could uncover Solheim's crimes and seek to make amends. She looks at you with pleading eyes. We could see beyond survival towards something else. You never heard Junie speak like this, and you realize what you've taken for nervousness was actually control. This, the person in front of you defending a decaying data core with their life, is the real Junie. But then you think of Lane, of the price he likely put on you and Seraphin's heads, and of the feed lines without which leaving Hexport would almost be impossible. Is this even a choice? Okay, so I can try to take it from her, which is risky. I could also explain about the feed lines. So yeah, here we're running into the fact that I want to play this twice. Because what I would do is negotiate with Junie, and I'd actually probably want to let her explore this core, which makes me want to do the opposite now, to see the other side before I pursue the thing on my own that I actually want to see. But this uses the engage skill, which sucks, and it's probably not going to be any good. Well, let me try explaining it to her. Junie listens carefully as you tell her about the deal with Karsten, the feed lines he offered you, and that both you and Seraphin are on the run. Then I'll help you. Junie doesn't flinch. We find another way to get those feed lines. Karsten's an idiot. I can hack his security. You can pull them out there, or Seraphin looks tough. Maybe you can just grab them? She looks desperate. We can do it. We can do something. Don't you work for him? Junie glances away. Look, I knew you wouldn't take me if... Yeah, I figured out you didn't work for Karsten, Junie. I might have misled you there. I knew he knew where the derelict was. I heard your conversation. I've been keeping an eye on him. She pauses. I know I lied, but I can help you. Let me strip the data from the core, and I promise to help you get the feed lines. She meets your eyes with intensity. It's a lot of information to take in at once. You need a second to think. I think I'm going to tell her no deal. I think I'm going to say I need this for the feed lines. I'm going to see what happens, because there's no way in hell I would make this choice on my own, and so I would never see what happens. So I'm going to say no deal so that we can see what happens. Junie sighs. Then what? I'm offering to help you. We all win. She meets your eyes. Please. And I'm going to take it from Junie, or I'm going to try. Neutral outcome. Check past. You leap at Junie and the core, kicking off from the wall, but Junie sees your attack coming. She grapples you in panic, and you both spin above the fractured metal connections of the cradle, pulling at each other's suits. You manage to get your legs between you and Junie. You kick hard, sending her spinning to the side. You grab the core as you retreat across the room, halting yourself with your free arm as you reach the wall. Junie tumbles against the far wall, striking it loudly and crying out. I need this, Junie. She shoots you a wild and pained look. She pauses, reaches up, flicks off her torch, then kicks away from the wall across the room. In a moment, she disappears into the dark and is gone. Silence descends. You keep one hand on the floating core, waiting to see if she'll come back for it. Suddenly, you hear rattling down the passage and tense yourself. So I've set up a... Seraphin casually glides into the room, but immediately stops, seeing you pressed against the wall with the core and no Junie in sight. Where's Junie, and what the hell happened here? Seraphin glances around. You explain to Seraphin as you both guide the data core back to the ship, keeping your eyes on the dark passages in case Junie should return. Seraphin mostly listens in silence as you explain how Junie wanted the data, how the process would have destroyed the core. Though when you tell him how you wrestled the core off Junie, he does offer an impressed whistle. Some people. Seraphin huffs as he handles the core through a thin passage. Always got their eyes on some big prize. It means they trip on the path in front of them. What good's this core? He carefully maneuvers through the door if you don't have a ship to get it off this wreck. She seemed confident. Seraphin smiles. Impressive, really. Took us for fools. Could have had a backup plan. Seraphin guides the core out to the hull of the ship, tethering it to a guideline. You both take it toward the ship, ready to load it on board. None of our concern anyway, concludes Seraphin. This place is her problem now. As you guide the core up into the ship's cargo hold, you look at the derelict and into the gaping holes in its hull, maybe hoping to see a flash of torchlight, something that might tell you where Junie's got to. You shiver at the idea of being marooned on this derelict, but then again, that's the risk you all take on a contract like this. You spare one last look, then Seraphin calls you inside. What's done is done. Holy crap, we're marooning Junie? We're marooning Junie. Holy cow. I mean... I'm betting this isn't the last we see of her. I'm betting she comes back later, and I'm betting she hates our guts. Wow. Look at the derelict stress. We got all the way to the end. Look at Seraphin's stress. Look at my stress. We barely pulled this off, and then I, totally screwed over our partner at the end. No, she tried to screw us over. I just screwed her over back. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, this is definitely not what I would have done. I would definitely have said, you know what, we'll figure out another way to get the core. You go ahead, take the data, Junie. It's fine that you lied to us. I'm curious too. That's what I would have done. But I'm fascinated by where this is going to go now that I've made this choice. I love games like this, where it's like, there's the playthrough where you do the things that you would do, that feel right to you, and it feels like the game is almost like not really a personality test, but it's a reflection of you and who you are and how you would live in this world. But then you can also do the opposite of what you would do, and you get this whole dramatic story going on, like it's written by an author that wants to keep you, that wants to wrong foot you, and it's just an entirely different experience. Anyway, oh wait, so before we go, by the way, I've got some 6s. 100% positive outcomes. Let's get some scrap out of here. Oh, is that it? Oh, we got all the scrap we can. That's it. We got all the scrap. Okay. Cool. There's a horrifying lurch. You're sent spinning through the bay. You were crossing in a hail of debris. What? Wait, because could I have left and avoided whatever this is? You watch as the side of the bay silently tears open in front of you, a gaping black maw toothed with flying debris. You stare into it, your breath heavy in your ears, your eyes wide. Suddenly you feel a tug in your back, your tether. As you spin back from the sudden arrest of your glide, you see Seraphin holding onto the other end, reeling you towards him. We have to go, Sleeper. His voice comes urgently over the comms channel. This place is done. Okay. Was it because I made that final extraction? Or would this have happened either way once I tried to leave? Anyway, you both make your way up through the splitting derelict in silence, charting a path through what were once passages, but are now twisted tubes, like the intestinal tract of some dead creature. Eventually you make it out to the surface, and you find the rig still tethered, but gashed with debris and scars. You and Seraphin exchange concerned glances. We're gonna have to pay for this. He looks over the damage. I hope she still flies. You tether together and push off from the hull, Seraphin guiding you through the debris. Below you, the derelict is exploding in slow motion, tearing apart into a swarm of razor-edged shards. At least we have something to show for all this, Seraphin reasons. Although I wish you had left before the ship tore up our rig. Sorry, Seraphin, I'm just way too greedy. You arrive at the rig's airlock and bundle yourself inside, noticing the exterior damage. It looks mostly superficial, but will no doubt take its toll on the ship. Once you're back in the cockpit, you look out at the derelict's shattered form. It seems you'll be its last visitors. You can't help but wonder if Junie made it off. It's hard to imagine how, but then again, she was full of surprises. Okay, so that was the derelict stress reaching maximum. Did I just not realize that action, even if 100% positive, was still going to stress out the derelict? That might be the case. Maybe I was warned about that and I just blew past it, didn't notice it. Anyway, let's use the map. Contract concluded. Leave. We will lose some stress during travel, but I will still have some. It has been a quiet journey back to Hexport. While the contract was a success, the knowledge that Junie may be stranded on the derelict has been eating away at you. You aren't sure if Seraphin's thinking the same thing. You look over at him, but his face betrays nothing as he completes the landing protocols. Something on your mind? Seraphin shakes his head. You're kidding me, right? I'm hoping, Sleeper, he unclips from his seat, that we didn't just take someone out to a derelict and leave them there. But the way I see it, that's what we did. He looked away. That's what we need to make peace with. He kicks off and glides to the door, on our own. And then he's gone, down the passage towards the bay where the Corps is waiting. A ticket out of here, and not a moment too soon. You just hope the price Junie paid is worth it. Okay, so now I am starving. I'm feeling a little flush with cash, so I'm going to eat at the nice place. And that fills me up with 4. That's what I was wondering. Was if this was like going to be worth the extra money, and it totally is. We are almost out of time. Look at the rig. The clock is almost full. Let's head over to Karsten. Let's give him the core. And see what happens there. Very nice, lads. Karsten looks over his glasses at you and Seraphin as you guide the extracted core to his shop. He looks the core up and down. Seems intact. He smiles a sharp smile. Of course, I'll have to run my own diagnostics on it to be sure. He motions for you to bring the core closer. First, the feed lines. Karsten chuckles. his eyes not going to the front of the shop, but to his workbench, where you see the feed lines tightly wrapped and tied. Heard you were on your way in, so I thought I'd get them ready for you. He winks. But first the core. Need to know that thing still works. Seraphim gives you a reassuring nod. It's okay, Sleeper. Karsten reels out some wires from the terminal stacked beneath his workbench and begins to fit them into small ports on the exterior of the core. So, Karsten talks while he sets up the data core. Run into any trouble out there? Nothing we couldn't handle. Glad to hear that. He slides thick wire into a gap in the data core's outer plating. I knew you'd come through in the end. Carson reaches down and taps at the terminal. You are a sleeper, after all. I imagine extraction is something of a specialty for you. Can we hurry this up a bit? Seraphim is staring impatiently at the feed lines. Just conversing with your friend here. He turns his attention back to you. Don't see many sleepers in Hexport. In fact, he flicks a switch. You're my first. So I did a bit of asking around, and well, he pauses, his finger hovering over another switch. Someone's been looking for you. Carson flicks the second switch. The shutters of the store crash down behind you, and as you spin around, you hear a thud from Carson's direction, too. You turn back to see him smirking behind a thick, scratched, transparent blast shield that just raised up from behind his counter. I'd apologize, but you must have done something heinous to chalk up a bounty this big. Carson takes his glasses off, letting them float free on a tether. Something inhuman, no doubt. Suddenly, the blast shield shudders with an impact. You see a crate bounce violently off it. Get screwed, you piece of shit! Seraphim glares at Karsten, the crate he threw spinning away. You're a nasty one too, huh? Karsten shakes his head. Well, it's too late to struggle now. I sent a message to Utsubo already. They'll be arriving on Hexport this cycle, so calm down and wait. You look frantically around the shop for a way out. Seraphim already banging at the heavy exterior shutters. You glance across the gridded metal floor at the solid paneling of the counter. Then you see it, a partially bent panel under the counter, this side of the blast shield, and behind it thick clumps of wiring. So, if I had the interface skill, I could cut the control wire, and I can still try that. However, I have the endurance skill, which is at least going to be neutral. So let's do that. Positive outcome. Ooh, I lost some stress. You dive down behind the counter, digging your fingers under the metal and tearing at the panel, setting it spinning away. A moment later, you have your hands around the thick clump of wires, and you strain against them, pulling the entire bundle free in a burst of sparks. The blast shield drops, and Seraphim reacts immediately, propelling himself across the counter and slamming Karsten into the back wall of his shop. As they struggle, you pull yourself up over the counter and make a dash for the feed lines. You grab them and kick off hard from the wall, sending yourself towards the slowly appearing gap beneath the rising shutters. You hear a grunt from Karsten. Seraphim is gliding beside you, out into Factory Row, pursued by Karsten's curses. Your arms ache from clutching the feed lines, but you don't loosen your grip until you see the entrance to the docking bridge. You both glide into the bridge, Seraphim helping you with the trailing feed lines. From what you can tell, the news of the chaos in Factory Row has not reached the port yet. You feel a rush of panic as you enter the rig. You don't know how close Lane might be, and the thought sets your nerves on edge. You take a sharp turn to the central passage of the ship and make your way to the engine room, the feed lines now unwieldy in the cramped space. Looks like we're in business, Seraphim lets out a sigh, and on the run from two different people now. He grabs the feed lines. I'll take it from here. He quickly begins the process of connecting the engine to the subsidiary food tank? That's not what we're doing. Fuel tank. You watch, catching your breath as he works. How about you make yourself useful rather than just making me nervous? Seraphim says without looking up from his work. Go close the airlock and disconnect the bridge. You turn to make your way up the passage, your nerves settling now. You turn to the airlock, reach for the control panel, and then you see him. Karsten, coming up the docking bridge, fast. So I can try to shut the airlock, which it's a coin flip, or I just shout stop? I mean, this feels like it's worth a try, right? Bah. He slams into you with some force, sending you spinning into the metal wall behind. You jerk in pain as you hit it and lose your sense of direction. Carson's heavy hands grab your neck and wrench you towards his face. You aren't getting away from me that easily. That bounty is mine. His breath is hot on your face. Before you can respond, he jerks back in pain, a thread of blood spiraling out from his forehead. Seraphim swings again, a pipe catching him in the chest and sending him spinning towards the door. You watch, stunned, as Seraphim jabs the closure sequence into the airlock control pad, and as the doors hiss closed, obscuring Carson's floating body from view. We go now. Seraphim pushes past you, gliding up the passageway from the engine room. Come on, get yourself strapped in. You silently follow him, your head spinning, your thoughts racing. You slip into your seat as Seraphim punches in the departure sequence. The rig begins to pull away from Hexport, Seraphine's hands on the controls. You close your eyes and feel the force of the thrusters firing. And with that, we leave Hexport. What the? Seraphine's quiet question interrupts your thoughts as the rig cuts across the belt. Hexport is now behind you, drifting out of visual range. Its glinting lights now just a part of the background glow of the belt's thousands of reflective bodies. Whatever trouble you stirred up there, it's surely been left behind. Which is why Seraphine's muttering is worrying you. More trouble? Seraphine turns. There's a transmission coming out of Hexport. Some kind of evac order? He turns back to his console. Let me check this. Sleeper. The voice, as distorted as it is, cuts through you. Lane. I know you're there. A hissing pause. Is that coming from Hexport? Seraphine glances at you, confused. Is what coming from Hexport? Give me a second here, Sleeper. I'm getting wide-channel broadcast. He rubs his shoulder nervously. They're warning people to alter their course away from the station. You're slipping away. A squawk of noise. But we can't have that. I take this personally, Sleeper. A sharp intake of breath. After all my investment, all my care expended upon you, this is how you repay me. At least we're headed away. Seraphine interrupts. Maybe it's just a precaution. I see a little something glinting out there. Lane continues. Could that be you? Sleeper? You hear Seraphine calling, but you don't move. You don't breathe. All you hear is Lane's voice. You unclip from your restraint, drifting forward towards Seraphine. He gives you a wild look. Something isn't right. You don't feel right. A numbness grows in your body, your fingers flexing without your input. You reach out towards Seraphine. No, not you. Something reaches out to Seraphine through you. A tension flickers in his eyes. Fear? A hissing silence, then a rumbling blast. All at once the rig screams, systems seizing in electromagnetic paralysis. All at once the rig shifts, carried on some shockwave of light. Pain, then darkness. This is getting intense. I thought we were just building towards some, I don't know, greater freedom. We're going to explore the system, and we're going to, instead this, things are just getting worse. Voices echo warmly through your mind. You're floating, and so you cannot yet feel your body or its weight. The feeling is pleasant, soothing, and yet the moment you realize this, it begins to fade. Something spasms in your fingers, and you flick it away. A sensation crossing the sole of your foot as you kick your leg. A weight settles itself in your chest. You're awake. You open your eyes to light playing across a surface patterned with stained cushioning. You're alone. The voice is replaced by the hum of air cycling, the distant clank of maintenance systems. You're alone, and this is not your ship. You jerk upwards, against the straps that hold you loosely to the berth, suddenly confronted with the last things you remember, an overwhelming numbness, and below it, an insipid animating force creeping through your mind. You pull at the straps and free yourself, floating up into the small habitation room, cushioned and worn, your mind racing. What happened? You search back and remember only Seraphine's shouts, the sudden acceleration of the rig, and then darkness. A chill runs through you. Cold light fills the room, and you float over to the dark square of the window. You see stars, the bright pinpricks of drive trails, and skeletal docking bridges. This is a station. A sudden hiss draws your attention to the door, which slides open with a puff of equalizing pressure. The entering figure jumps as they see you're awake. You're up. They hesitate in the doorway. Where's Seraphine? Your friend, right? They laugh nervously. I'm not really sure. He headed out a while ago. I'm Bliss. They shrug, not sure what to add. Your friend Seraphine is out. Sorry, he brought you here. Here? Right. They nod slowly. This is my room. They glance around. Not much, I know. We're in my repair bay on the far spindle, if you know where that is. How did I get here? They look around the room again. Come on, let's go somewhere a little more comfortable. They hold out a hand. You're safe. Don't worry. You follow them out into the corridor, gliding behind them. They move with the ease of someone who is either born in Zero-G or has spent most of their life in it. They guide you to an enclosed balcony where heavily scratched, thick acrylic windows look out onto a chaotic-looking wet dock. For some reason, I could not read that sentence to save my life. At the center of the dock is the rig, scratched and worn, but still your ship. It's a reassuring sight. So what happened? Your ship, Bliss pauses. You were lucky I heard your distress signal. You sense they are holding something back. I guess that expensive long-range array I was tricked into buying finally paid off. They laugh to themselves. Well, at least for someone. You were out cold when I got there. I've been out, and I have been for all the cycles since you're... I need to learn how to read again. I'm getting very tired. We need to wrap this episode up. You were out cold when I got there, and have been for all the cycles since. Your friend wasn't in great shape either, but he bounced back fast. I make a habit of doing that. Seraphin's voice makes you spin around. Good to see you up. He can't suppress his smile. Are you okay? He smiles. Don't start fussing over me, Sleeper. I'm good. Your eyes fall to Seraphin's bandaged abdomen. He notices and pulls his jacket over the wound. Certainly looks better than when you came in. You should have seen. Bliss abruptly stops after Seraphin glares in their direction. Here. Seraphin pulls a few chits out of his pocket. Catch. He slings them over to Bliss. That's all I could get for now. Working in your condition? Seraphin sighs. Please, I'm fine. Bliss looks at you apologetically. I know what it looks like, but I'm sorry. I can't work for free. Keeping this place going is bad enough. I get it. Seraphin nods. We're just thankful you towed us in. We aren't freeloaders. Bliss looks between the two of you. I'll let you two catch up. And they turn to you. I'm glad you're awake. We were worried. They pat you on the shoulder and glide back down the corridor. With Bliss gone, silence descends on you and Seraphin, both of you unsure what to say. What happened? What do you remember? He looks at you with concern. Lane. Seraphin grimaces the mention of his name. Lane? He shakes his head. Seraphin looks out at the rig. He takes a breath, steeling himself for what he has to say. Hexport is... He clears his throat. It's gone. He flinches. What do you mean, gone? It's gone. Seraphin catches your eye. Dropped off the map, no signals apart from the ones sent from the fleeing ships. He frowns. I don't know what happened. No one does. Your mind skips, unable to focus on the information you've just been told. You think of the constant activity of the bends, the rumble of Factory Row. Karsten, gone. By the time Bliss reached us, we had drifted out of range. They couldn't have seen it go up, but I saw a Sleeper. Something exploded, white hot. He rubbed his arms, suppressing a shiver. A moment later, the shockwave was on us. The rig was crippled. Engines kept firing, but the guidance went offline, sending us arcing out across the belt. He drops a hand inside his jacket, pressing against the bandage on his side. I managed to get her under control, but not before we started spinning. My restraints came loose, and you weren't even strapped in, so we both got scrambled. He smiles a weak smile. Felt like being trapped in an auto wash. He turns back to you. I'm impressed you made it, to be honest. A flesh and blood human would have been smashed to pieces. He goes silent, the image a little too raw for him to continue. Could it be to do with us? I'll say I can't believe it. You and all the belt, Seraphin sighs. All anyone is seeing is debris and radiation. I picked up a lot of ship transponders before the rig went offline. Maybe some people got out. He stops, unable to add anything more. You both float in silence for a moment. What now? Seraphin laughs weakly. One step at a time. You in a rush? We already owe Bliss for work they did on the rig, and it isn't finished yet. A few more cycles, I've been told. Bliss won't hold us hostage, but I don't like to skip out without paying, even if we could get the rig started up. He rubs his necklace between his fingers. Bad karma. Beyond that, we need work. Fuel, supplies. We need to make sure you're okay. He counts off the issues on his fingers. After that, he shrugs, I haven't heard of anyone coming after us, and if they did, they'd have to come through Hexport, or what's left of it. He looks away. The far spindle is way out of Lane's territory anyway. They call this bit of the belt the Wash, and the stations here run differently than Darkside, so for now, we have some freedom. Seraphin sighs. Freedom to go broke, starve, and get into even more trouble, that is. In all honesty, I was hoping you might have some ideas. He pats you on the shoulder. I want to explore this place. The far spindle? There's plenty to see. This is a free station. No one faction holds control, so it's quite the circus. You just watch your step out there. Seraphin pauses and stares down. Look, Sleeper. He rubs his side. I'm not sure I can work right now. I just got kicked out of a salvage yard for passing out on the job. He looks away. Even with the pain meds, I've been able to scare up. I can fly, that's for sure. He stares obstinately at the rig. But you're going to need some crew if you're going to want to do any serious work. He chews his lip. I'm sorry. Understood. Seraphin nods. He turns away. I'm going to take a rest on the rig. I'm wiped. You look out at the rig as he leaves, the warmth and softness of your waking moments now feeling like distant memory. Is this what you wanted? Freedom? A chance to work for yourself, not Lane? Well, here it is, with all the problems and complications you could imagine. And at what cost? Could Lane have wiped out Hexport just to try to end you? You shiver at the thought. But if not Lane, then who? Theories cloud your mind. Push them away. Now is not the time for theories. You take a breath. Time to make a plan. You have gained some glitch. Your current level of glitch is represented by the glitch clock to the right of your dice. Okay, I see that. You can have a maximum of 6. Each level of glitch you gain will increase your chance of rolling glitched dice. Each time you roll a glitched die, you clear 1 level of glitch. A glitched die has an 80% chance of a negative outcome when used, and a 20% chance of a positive outcome. Okay, so I can use them in places where I'm not too worried about the outcome, and when I do, I clear some glitch. Okay, interesting. All right. This episode is longer than I intended it to be. Originally, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just do one contract, but like, I had to keep going. We had to explore this. So the thing that I love about the contracts in particular, like, that's sort of the key feature of Citizen Sleeper 2. Citizen Sleeper 1 all took place on one vast space station, and you kind of had one sort of through line story that you were following, and it would like take you from location to location within that space station. But, you know, if you were doing well, you were doing well, and there was sort of this like sense of momentum where you could be doing poorly or doing well overall, but you could kind of sort of establish like a consistent zone that you were in throughout. And if you were doing really well, you know, it could be easy to sort of lose that sense of desperation. So the thing that I love about the contracts, what they add to it, is that even if you're doing well in the overall sort of life that you're living in the game, each contract can push you right to the edge and make you extremely desperate, as we saw in the second one, where like I got right up to the edge and then a little bit of greed pushed me right over the cliff, and it was awesome. We still got out, we still survived, but like riding that edge of failure is a lot of the thrill of playing a game like this. I mean, this is a game that it's a lot of reading, it's slow paced, there's no action gameplay, but there's still a thrill to playing this game because you're just right on the edge of a cliff all the time with your character just about to fall off. And that, you know, you picture that in your head, you're imagining yourself in their position, and that's just as much of a thrill as, like, you know, a hair-raising Call of Duty match. And so that's what I love about the contracts. I think it's a really good idea for sort of like taking this game, you know, one step further into its own weird direction. I mean, this game is unlike anything else I've ever played, and they've done a really good job of sort of identifying what the emotional experience is that they're creating that's special and unique to them, and then finding new ways to make that work better than it did before. And that's what you want to do, is like, as you're sort of expanding a franchise, doing just more of the same bores people, and like wildly departing from what you usually do loses you your audience. You have to like identify what is actually working for the people in your audience, and then you have to find a way to do that better and more and in more interesting ways. And I feel like Citizen Sleeper 2 is succeeding at that wildly so far. So anyway, that's the end of this episode. Originally I was thinking, oh yeah, you know, maybe we'll just do the 2 episodes and leave it alone, but I actually really want to find out what it's like to play with these glitched dice. I want to know, like, you know, what's going on with this spindle place. Is it so? I originally was thinking, oh, maybe it'll open out more and I'll have more freedom, it'll be more self-directed, less sort of guided than the story was in the previous chapter. And then I was like, oh no, you know, things are being blown up and like Lane's attacking us, and this is just, you know, we're not going to get this opportunity to go broader that I thought we were about to get when we repaired the ship. But no, it looks like both are happening. We're getting the intense climactic sort of moment at the end of that act of the game, and also it looks like I've come to a place where I get to have more freedom, more self-determination. So best of both worlds, and we'll see what happens next time. So whenever I get around to making another episode with this game, that's going to go there. So I'll see you there, and good night.